Buckle up, folks. Are you thinking of buying a used car? Well, hold on tight and listen up, because I've got some juicy insider tips on how to make sure you don't end up with a clunker. I've got the lowdown on all the things you need to check, and trust me, it's not just your grandma's old sedans. Have you ever been on the hunt for a used car? Cause I have, and I got exhausted. With all the choices out there, it will feel like you're searching for a needle in a haystack. And let's face it, you don't want to end up with a car that's more trouble than your ex. But fear not, because we've got your back. We've put together a guide on the top things you need to check before buying a used car, so you don't end up getting scammed and like the last time you used Tinder. Let's face it, used car shopping can be as stressful as a group project in college. Everyone's promising to pull their weight, but in reality, you're stuck with doing all the work. It's like that one person who always says they'll do the research, but then disappears like a magician. And when it comes to a used car, the stakes are high. You don't want to end up with a clunker that'll break down on the side of the road like a high school romance. We'll guide you through the maze of used car shopping. And who knows, with all these tips, you might just end up with the car of your dreams, or at least one that doesn't need a mechanic on speed dial. When it comes to inspecting the engine, it's like checking out your blind date. You want to make sure everything is in working order and nothing is making weird noises. Just like a blind date, you don't want to ignore any red flags like a strange smell or an alarming lack of personality. Also, don't forget to check the previous owners of the car so you don't end up with anything that was extremely abused. We'll cover everything from inspecting the engine to checking for any signs of wear and tear. We'll make sure you're aware of any hidden issues that might cost you an arm and a leg down the road. And trust us, we know a thing or two about hidden issues. And just like your ex, a used car might look great on the outside, but you never know what's lurking beneath the surface. And don't worry, we won't judge you if you're still driving that hand-me-down from your grandpa that still smells like a capsule. We'll help you upgrade to something that'll make you the envy of the road, or at least won't make you feel like you're driving in a time machine. If you're ready to hit the road in your new-to-you car, there are a few more things to consider before taking off into the sunset. First things first, let's talk about the car's history. Just like a first date, you want to make sure the car hasn't been hiding any skeletons in its closet. Check the vehicle history report to make sure it hasn't been in any accidents or has any criminal record. Because let's be honest, a car that's been in an accident is like a date with an ex. You know there's some baggage there. Plus, you don't want to be driving around in a car that's been in an accident. It's like going on a date with someone who's been through too much drama. No thanks. Speaking of car history, it's not just accidents you need to look out for. You also need to check the car's mileage. You don't want to be fooled by a car that's trying to pretend it's younger than it actually is. A car with low mileage may seem like a catch, but it's like going on a date with someone who's too good to be true. You just know there's something hiding beneath the surface. So make sure the mileage is in a reasonable range for the car's age. As you mentioned the mileage, let's switch gears and focus on the engine of the car, because first impressions matter. Even when it comes to cars, think of it as the car's heart. You want to make sure it's healthy and strong. Check the oil level and the color. If it's the color of a pumpkin spice latte, that's not a good sign. It means there's something seriously wrong with the engine. When checking the engine, always remember to verify the transmission condition. Think of it as the car's communication skills. You want them to be smooth and efficient. Now that we've got the engine and the transmission checked, we should move on to the brakes and see what kind of personality this car has. You want the brakes to be reliable and not too intense. If the brakes are too sensitive, you'll feel like you're on a date with an overeager puppy, constantly being jerked around. If they're not sensitive enough, you feel like you're on a date with a couch potato, just going through the motions. You want the brakes to be just right. While evaluating the brakes, don't forget to take a quick look at the tires. Think of them as the car's shoes. You want them to be in good shape and not too worn out. If the tires are bald, it's like the car's wearing stilettos to a hiking trail. It's not going to end well. And if the tires are unevenly worn, it's like the car's wearing two different shoes. Not a good look either. Make sure the tires are in good shape. Now that we've covered the brakes and the tires, time to mention another crucial part, which is the suspension. Think of it as the car's ability to handle different situations. You want it to be versatile and adaptable. If the suspension is too stiff, it's like going on a date with someone who can't let loose and have a little fun. If the suspension is too soft, it's like going on a date with someone who can't handle any sort of challenge. You want the suspension to be just right and can give you a comfortable ride without having your back broken. Suspension is an essential part of the car's performance, but they're not the only thing you need to worry about when buying a used car, because lights are also important. Ensure that all the lights are working properly, including the headlights, tail lights, and turn signals. You don't want to be driving around in a car that's invisible at night. And if the turn signals aren't working, it's like going on a date with someone who's not good at communicating. You'll be left guessing their every move. And before I forget about the lights, one last piece of advice is to make sure that the car's dashboard is not lit like a Christmas tree, because that means that you will be spending the next Christmas Eve with a mechanic. Now that we've taken a closer look at the car's exterior, we need to move on to the interior, the place where you'll be spending a lot of time with your new ride. You want it to be clean and in good condition. Check the seats for any rips or stains, because you don't want to be driving around in a car that looks like it's been through a food fight. Make sure the car's interior is in good condition and that everything in the dashboard works. We've covered most of the important things you need to check, but there's one last thing we need to look at before we can say that this car is a good deal, which is the air conditioning. Make sure the AC works right, because you don't want to end up with a car that's too hot to handle or too cold to care. So there you have it, folks. We've covered all the major things you need to check before buying a used car, and hopefully we've made you laugh a little along the way. Remember, buying a used car doesn't have to be a stressful experience. Just approach it like you're going on a first date with someone new. Take your time, do your research, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you're still feeling a little unsure, don't hesitate to bring a friend or a trusted mechanic, because let's be honest, buying a used car is a big investment, and you want to make sure you're making the right choice. With all of this in mind, you're well on your way to finding the car of your dreams. A car that's reliable, safe, and won't break down on you like a bad relationship. Happy car hunting.